Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is my top 3 books that I read this year. So I haven't got that favourite book, so a lot of people can pick their favourite book for the year. I have 3 because whenever someone asks me what was your favourite book read this year, or can you recommend me a book to read, these are the top 3 that comes to my head every time. I can't pick a favourite, but they're ones I will always recommend. So I was going to do a top 10 books of 2020 video, but I've scrapped that idea because I can't pick my top 10. I read a lot of good books this year and I just can't pick 10 books that I loved, but I can pick 3 books, so here I am to tell you my top 3 books of the year. I mean, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already know what they are, purely for the fact that I always talk about these 3 books. And yeah, I talk about these 3 books a lot when anyone wants any recommendations. I've probably spoke about them on this channel as well. I definitely have in quite a few videos. So is this video pointless? Do you already know? We will see. So the top one is The Other People by CJ Tudor. So I read this in January on release. I pre-ordered it and I got it 2 days early, so best believe I was living my best life. That was my most anticipated book of the year, 5-star for me, and that kicked off my January very nicely. So I'm going to read out the synopsis of The Other People, because if you listen to this synopsis and decide you don't want to read this book, then I'll be confused. So, a gripping new thriller about a man's quest for the daughter no one else believes is still alive. From the acclaimed author of The Chalkman and The Hiding Place, driving home one night struck behind a dusty old car, Gabe sees a little girl's face appear in the rear window. She mouths one word, "Daddy." It's his 5-year-old daughter Izzy. He never sees her again. 3 years later, Gabe spends his days and nights travelling up and down the motorway searching for the car that took his daughter, refusing to give up hope even though most people believe that Izzy is dead. Fran and her daughter Alice also put in a lot of miles on the motorway, not searching but running, trying to keep one step ahead of the people who want to hurt them, because Fran knows the truth. She knows what really happened to Gabe's daughter. Then the car that Gabe saw driving away that night is found in a lake with a body inside, and Gabe is forced to confront events not just from the night of his daughter's disappearance, but from far deeper in his past. His search leads him to a group called The Other People. If you have lost a loved one, The Other People want to help, because they know what loss is like, they know what pain is like, they know what death is like. There's just one problem: they want other people to know it too. I mean, if that doesn't hook you, I don't know what will. And maybe that is me being a bit biased because I love CJ Tudor and I always say I love CJ Tudor, so I think I sound a bit like a broken record. But if that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will. Because for me, I loved it. And this is why it's in my top 3. These aren't specifically in order of 1 to 3. These are just my top 3. This is just the first one I read in the year. So it's out in paperback now as well. So it was released in hardback in January and it came out in paperback in February. So you've got your choice. You can have a hardback or you can have a paperback or you can have a Kindle version. So all the choices. So the second one, which is the second one I read, is The Institute by Stephen King. Are we shocked to hear that? No, we're not. Whenever I mention Stephen King or my top 5 of Stephen King books, The Institute is always there. The Institute is number 1 for me, and I don't know why more people don't like it. I mean, a lot of people now aren't too invested in King's newer works, which okay is understandable. Like, you do you prefer the classic King, which is also saying they prefer the King on drugs, but you know. The classic King, but for me, yeah, classic King and newer King is different, but his work is still good. So The Institute, so good. That came out in 2019, and I read that in March. I'm just going to get the synopsis up. In the middle of the night, in a house on a quiet street in suburban Minneapolis, intruders silently murder Luke Ellis's parents and load him into the black SUV. Why did I say CUV? It's the pressure of reading on camera. The operation takes less than 2 minutes. Luke will wake up in the Institute in a room that looks like his own, except there's no window, and outside his doors are other doors, behind which are other kids with special talents, telekinesis and telepathy. Why am I like this? Who got displaced the same way Luke did. Kalisha, Nick, George, Iris and 10-year-old Avery Dixon. They are all in the front half. Others, like Luke learns, graduated to the black half. Like the Roach Motel, Kalisha says. You check in and you don't check out. In this most sinister of institutes, the director Miss Sigby and the staff are ruthlessly dedicated to extracting from these children the force of their extra-normal gifts. There are no scruples here. If you go along, you get tokens for the vending machine. If you don't, punishment is brutal. Each new victim disappears to black half. Luke becomes more and more desperate to get out of here and get help, but no one has ever escaped from the Institute. Again, if that doesn't make you read the book, I don't know what will. For me, this had Stranger Things vibes. I've said this before. So obviously it's about a group of children and they have special abilities, and it just has that sort of vibe. It makes you angry, the book, because of the villains in it are villains. They truly are. But the book is so tense. Like, there's moments in it where I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was like, okay, I need a breather, but I didn't want a breather because I wanted to find out what happened. And it got to about 2 in the morning one night when I was so tired. I really wanted to go to bed, but I wanted to finish the book because I was in this really tense moment. But I knew if I carried on reading, I probably would have got confused and I would have woken up in the morning not remembering what I had read. And that's definitely not what you want to do when you're in this really tense moment in the book. So I had to put it down, and then I did restart that bit the next day, so I got the full tense moments again. So yeah, that was a top 3 for me. 5-star read for me as well. And my boyfriend's mum, she loved it as well. She read it first. Persuaded me to read it because I'd put it off since I bought it in September. I bought her a copy and I bought me a copy, and it just sat on my shelf for a while. I didn't just want to grab it, and then when she was reading it and messaging me, she was like, Beth, you really need to read this. And I was like, right, okay, it's going to be my next book, and I'm so glad I did. I wish I'd have picked it up sooner, but all in all, fantastic. Glad I read it this year because now it's in my top 3, and it's a book I will recommend to every Stephen King newbie or Stephen King fan that hasn't read it yet. So the third and final one, which is in my top 3, which I think everyone's also gonna guess, is The Whisper Man by Alex North. So this was out last year. I believe this came out last year, 2019. It was Alex North's debut novel, and it's a horror, but it's also under crime. So I'm going to read out the synopsis again. So the synopsis and whatever the book description for this on Goodreads is: in this dark suspenseful thriller, Alex North weaves a multiple generation tale of father and son caught in the crosshairs of an investigation to catch a serial killer preying on a small town. After the sudden death of his wife, Tom Kennedy believes a fresh start will help him and his young son Jake Keel. A new beginning, a new house, a new town, Featherbank. But Featherbank has a dark past. 20 years ago, a serial killer abducted and murdered 5 residents. Until Frank Carter was finally caught, he was nicknamed the Whisper Man, for he could lure his victims out by whispering out the window at night. Just as Tom and Jake settle into their new home, a young boy vanishes. His disappearance bears an unnerving resemblance to Frank Carter's crimes. Reigniting old rumours that he preyed with an accomplice, now detectives Amanda Beck and Peter Willis must find the boy before it's too late. Even if that means Pete has to revisit his great foe in prison, the Whisper Man. And then Jake begins acting strangely. He hears a whispering at his window. Again, if you don't listen to that synopsis and want to read it, then what is wrong with you? Or maybe it's just not your genre. But this book actually did creep me out, and it's hard to creep me out nowadays because I'm so desensitized to a lot of scary things, I guess, because I've been watching horror and true crime stuff since I was 11. I mean, I've watched my first horror at 9, I believe, but I didn't properly watch it regularly until I was 11. God, no wonder I'm the way I am. But because I started watching it at a young age, I'm kind of desensitized by it now because nothing sort of freaks me out in that sense, nothing surprises me. But this book did grip me. The writing and everything was just so creepy, and it was unsettling at points where I was just like, wow, okay, like this writing is incredible. Alex North has outdone himself, especially with his debut novel. So for me, that's why it's in my top 3, because the whole story, there's a plot twist in it, there's just a lot that goes on, and for his debut novel, I don't know how he's done that. It was absolutely incredible, and that's all I talk about. But these are my top 3. If any of these are in your top 10, top 3, whatever, let me know, because I'm intrigued. I know a lot of people hit and miss with the Institute. I don't see a lot of people raving about CJ Tudor. I just see myself raving about her. And people have actually picked up her book on my recommendation, so grateful for that. But everyone needs to read CJ Tudor. So yeah, let me know if you've read these this year and if you loved them or if you didn't like them. I'd love to hear if you didn't like them and why you didn't like them. Because reading is so subjective. It's interesting to hear other people's thoughts on books that you love. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on my next video.